So goes the story of a scientist who decided that he was going to get very arrogant and proud before God. His achievements had reached such heights that he raised his head to God and said, "God, we don't need you anymore. We are very good on our own. We have so advanced in our technology and our sciences." And God says, "Is that so?" And he says, "Yes, we can even make man now." And God says, "Oh, okay. How about a little contest? You make a man and I'll make a man. We'll see who is better." The scientist says, "No problem, I can do that." So God says, "Well, we have to do this the old-fashioned way. We have to do it from dirt and mud." And the scientist says, "No problem, we're so technically advanced that we can do that, not a problem." So God says, "All right, ready, set, go." God grabbed a handful of dirt. The scientist goes to grab a handful of dirt. And God says, hey, go get your own dirt. Point being, God creates all things, right? Science is such a beautiful gift from God, isn't it? What is science? Science comes from the word wisdom. It's discovering the beautiful wisdom of God in creation. In our class in adult faith formation, we were discussing the differences between images, men and angels were made in the image and likeness of God, and the beauty of God's creation, which we call vestiges, or English word for that, footprints. All of creation is God's footprint. When I was out in Montana on my retreat, I was beholding the beauty of creation, and the footprints of God were leading me to God. Kind of like the guy I met who was tracking mountain lions and was following the footprints of the mountain lions, right? They were leading him to the mountain lions. I wasn't going to do that. But all of creation, when we study science, it leads us, it's the footprint that leads us to God, like a tracker. It leads us to God. When we are studying, whether it be the molecular world, the beauty of that microscopic molecular world, or the quantum world as they call it now, how beautiful. We see order, we see unity, we see beauty in this very microscopic level. And science keeps showing us the laws that God wrote into the beauty of his creation on such a microscopic level. Or when we're studying the greatness of the stars in the sky and the heavens and the planets and all the other stuff and the great solar systems that are out there, we're studying the footprint of God, the laws of nature on such a beautiful, universal level, so far outside ourselves, discovering God's creation. And we look at even on ourselves, we see the beauty of God's creation. As you can tell, I really enjoy science. Despite my grades in science class in high school and my great failure at my 6th grade science fair, I like science. Actually, I did really bad in my 6th grade science fair. I did it more to get out of class, but in 7th and 8th grade, I got into it. And in 7th grade, I placed 2nd place in the science fair. I was proud of that. I had this incredible experiment and so forth and study, and I did weeks of research, and I lost to a volcano. I think the volcano was an 8th grader, and the 8th graders had to win because they were 8th grade, right? But in 8th grade, I placed 1st place in the science fair, in studying and what I presented and so forth. I like science because what is science? Science reveals to us the beauty of God's creation. And of all God's creations, there is nothing more beautiful than the human person. When God creates everything day after day, he says, it is good, it is good, it is good. And after he creates our first parents, he says, it is very good. When we study the beauty of this human person, we go back to its very origins of in the beginning of life, and we see how beautiful God is. Think about the technological advances we have had in science over these past 50 years. Just in the past 50 years. The discovery of DNA. We now know for a fact that life begins at conception. My eye color was determined the day I was conceived. My hair color was determined the day I was conceived. My height was determined the day I was conceived. I wish I could have kept my really bright blonde hair I had as a little child, but hey, what are you going to do? How we respond to certain foods was there at the moment of conception. Whether we had genetic disorders or genetic dispositions was all there at the moment of conception. Certain personality traits were there in the DNA at the moment of our conception. That is awesome. As we grow in life, a lot of the changes that happen in our lives are because of the DNA that happened at our conception. It would have been nice to know that around 45, 50 years old, I was going to go from a V shape to an O shape, but hey, what are you going to do? Gravity always wins. Amazing, the gift of life. When we look at the human person, our growth in the womb, I have some things here. This is amazing. At 10 days old in the womb, 18 days old, so 18 days, when we're 2.5 weeks after our conception, 2.5 weeks, our heart begins to beat. Isn't that awesome? Like we're just a little tiny itsy bitsy thing and the heart is beating. By 21 days, the heart is pumping its own blood through separate closed circulatory system with its own blood type. Different than that from its mother. It's not part of the mother. It's its own DNA. If I found that baby at that age and I looked at the DNA, I'd say, I know its relationships, but I know it's its own person. At 28 days, less than a month old, the eye, the ear, and respiratory systems begin to form. 42 days, less than 2 months old, a month and a half, brain waves are recorded. Our skeletons are complete, and we have reflexes. This is amazing, right? At 7 weeks old, so now we're a month and 3 weeks, right? There's actually photographs of babies sucking their thumbs at 7 weeks in the womb. Some of us never stop. That was a joke. At 8 weeks, all the body systems are present. 9 weeks, the baby squints, swallows, moves its tongue, makes a fist at 9 weeks. That's 2 months and 1 week. The baby is making a fist in the womb. 11 weeks, there's spontaneous breathing, movements, there's fingernails, all body systems are working. At 12 weeks, the baby only weighs 1 ounce. And yet all this is going on, and we're not even 3 months old yet in the womb. The beauty of science's discovery over the past 50 years is absolutely astounding that we have discovered that life does take place in the womb. It's not a glob of cells. My life did not begin the day I was conceived. It did begin the day I was conceived, not the day I was born. By 18 weeks, we have vocal cords. Wow. 20 weeks, hair on the head, weighs a pound. At 24 weeks, there's a 56% chance of survival outside the womb. At 25 weeks, a 79% chance of survival outside the womb with a premature birth. These statistics are astounding. The development of an unborn child is amazing. It's astounding. What science has showed us tells us the truth. That every single life in the womb is not just a glob of cells. It is a human person. Science has now proven this. People say, I agree with science. Well, if you agree with science, then you must agree that life begins in the womb and is sacred. It has to be protected from the moment of conception. Because I began to exist, you began to exist. Every human life began to exist at the moment of conception. How beautiful. Science has revealed to us the truth of what the church has taught since day one. The beauty of the dignity of human life. The words of Scripture of Jeremiah, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Talks about the beauty of life in the womb, in the Scriptures, in the Psalms. How beautiful. My brothers and sisters, it's time for our country to wake up. The world to come up with the science, to agree with the science, what science has proven to us, that human life begins at conception and every child in the womb has the right to be defended, has the right to life. The word pro-choice was a word that was created by Dr. Bernard Nathanson, an abortionist, because he said Americans will never accept pro-abortion word. They use the word pro-choice because Americans aren't against choice. But now we look at that word choice. What is the choice? What is the choice of abortion? The choice is to end and terminate the life of an unborn child. Even the word abortion. To abort a flight means to stop it already in progress. To cancel it means you stop it before it happens. When your plane is aborted, that means you're already on the plane and you got to deboard. Means something's already in progress. Life in the womb is sacred. And we now as a country stand on the precipice of whether or not we are going to end this evil, agree with the science and protect life from the moment of conception. There is an organization in our country that was founded by a racist, Nazi sympathizer, anti-Jewish, anti-Catholic woman. She herself was Catholic. She grew up in an alcoholic family and she became very anti the faith. And she sought particularly for the destruction of the African American community. She became the foundress of the largest abortion industry in the country. She's the mother of Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood has its foundations as a racist, Nazi sympathizer, anti-Catholic organization. Look it up online. Read her quotes. Her intent of forming Planned Parenthood and introducing abortion into the United States was to do away with the African American community, which is why Planned Parenthood establishes its abortion clinics in black neighborhoods mostly. Why they abort more than 60% of children that are born in black neighborhoods. It's a racist, anti-Catholic, Nazi sympathizing group, in her own words. My brothers and sisters, this organization of Planned Parenthood is evil to the core. It has millions of dollars and works against life. And I said, right now, we stand at the precipice of this evil organization which is trying to continue denying the science, trying to continue their work in destroying life. I never have ever and never will ever condemn anyone for having an abortion. Nobody knows why they chose it. Nobody knows the circumstances and so forth. We never condemn anyone who has fallen into that for whatever reason. We don't know why and that's up to them, between them and God. We're there to show them mercy. We're there to help those in need when they have problem pregnancies. But never can we stand by and promote this evil or in any way defend it. This is not a political homily. This is not about politics. I don't care what politician you are for. I don't care their economic policy, their foreign policy. I don't care how that's out of the scope of what we're discussing today. But it is important for us that when we go into that voting booth and we close that curtain, it's like being in the confessional. We are there alone before God in our conscience. And we cannot pull a lever for somebody who is going to vote for, promote, or defend the destruction of innocent human life in the womb. If this was years ago when we were in the midst of before the Civil War, and there was slavery in our country, and we had people in our country that were holding up slaves, I would stand in this very same pulpit and I would condemn slavery. I would condemn those who stand there and tell me that a black person is not human and can be owned. And I would say, no, that's not true. You cannot own them. They're human persons. They have a right to life. They have a right to liberty. They have a right to the pursuit of happiness. They have that right. That right. I would make no distinction. I would fight as hard. I believe you would be behind me. I believe that you would stand by me. And I believe that you would run ahead of me. And I would tell you straight out that you cannot vote for somebody who promotes slavery and the enslavement of another human person. And so the same. We cannot vote for somebody who denies the right to life of a child in the womb. Somebody who lines their pockets with the blood money of Planned Parenthood, a racist, pro-Nazi, anti-Catholic organization. No priest wants to give this homily. I don't want to give this homily. It's very intensive to give this homily. But I have to speak. Because if I don't, the day I stand before God and have to give an account of a moment in history when we had the opportunity to get rid of this horrible child killing of abortion, and I stayed silent, when I stand before God in judgment, there'll be thousands of unborn children behind our Lord saying, He did not speak for us. A millstone would await my neck. It's my obligation, as tough it is to say. We cannot vote for those who defend abortion, promote, or in any way, shape, or form, promote the death of unborn children. We need to defend life. From the moment of conception, every human person has the right to life, to liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We as Catholics need to be there for mothers in troubled pregnancies, to help them, to assist them. To women who've had abortions, we need to be there to show them compassion and understanding. But we need to drive this evil from our land. Just as we drove out slavery. Just as we were the ones who helped the world be free of slavery after we ourselves were free of it. So we need to end the evil of the killing of unborn children and drive it out from this world. What an offense to God that we should know the truth of the beauty of life in the womb, that it is human life. And yet we take it thousands a day. My brothers and sisters, I know this is not the easy homily to give or to hear, especially at 7:30 in the morning. But the science is clear. Human life begins at conception. And so as people of faith, we have only one response. We must defend life. In how we live, how we speak, how we treat others, and in how we vote. I find this to be our moment in history, our time. Just as our brothers and sisters from times ago had to stand against slavery, so you and I today have to stand against this evil. This is our time. This is our fight. This is our moment. Thousands and millions of unborn children are resting upon our decision. May we defend life and proclaim the beauty of God's most incredible creature, the human person. May God bless you and Mary keep you.